Let's start with the ones that were shocking, and then we'll work our way down to the most terrifying spy gadgets ever made. Number 9. The Rectal Toolkit. Alright, I know the name already sounds absurd, and trust me, it is exactly what you think it is. The Rectal Toolkit was considered one of the worst spy devices ever designed. Basically, it was a hollow metal capsule stuffed with all sorts of tools to help spies escape capture or maybe even neutralize a target if things got really bad. This wasn't just an idea on paper, either. During the Cold War, the CIA actually issued these kits to officers. And if you're wondering what they looked like, well, let's just say subtlety wasn't the priority. These things were not small, not sleek, and certainly not comfortable. They were packed with extras, saw blades, knives, even something called a shark tooth, plus lip balm, and, believe it or not, an extra pair of socks. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, but did this thing actually work? Here's the kicker. There's not a single documented case of it being successfully used in the field. Not one. So imagine training for years, carrying this ridiculous toolkit around in the most uncomfortable way possible and never needing it. That's why this device is remembered less as a tool of espionage and more as a bizarre piece of spy trivia. Number 8. The glove gun. Next up, we've got something much cooler, the glove gun. Honestly, if James Bond had ever been issued one of these, it might have been his most stylish gadget. The glove gun was first issued to U.S. Navy intelligence officers during World War II. Of course, once the KGB got wind of it, they just had to copy it. The design was simple but wild. It was basically a single-shot pistol mounted on a leather glove. A small trigger bar stuck out, and when you threw a punch, the pressure would release the firing pin, discharging the bullet. Now, let's be real. There are only two situations where this would make sense. 1. The only possible way to take out a target is through a literal punch assassination. Or 2, you're just trying to look really cool in front of the enemy. But as awesome as the glove gun looked, it had some serious downsides. You needed a strong right hand, and you had to land that punch on the right spot, preferably the head. Oh, I'm sorry to all the left-handers out there. This gadget wasn't designed for you. The glove was made exclusively for right-handed users. And just like the Rectal Toolkit, no confirmed record exists of anyone actually using the glove gun successfully. Still, in terms of spy gadget style points, this one is hard to beat. Number 7. Pencil bombs. Now, let's rewind to World War II, when German spies came up with something deceptively simple but incredibly destructive, the pencil bomb. Picture a metal cylinder, roughly the size of a cigar. Each end was sealed with wax caps. Inside the tube, 2 different acids, kept apart by a copper divider. Trick was that the thickness of the copper determined how long it took to dissolve. Once it finally broke down, the acids mixed, heating up rapidly, melting the wax and igniting into fire. German operatives planted these devices aboard American warships while they were still docked. Then, days later, when the ships were already at sea, the bombs would ignite, setting supplies on fire or sometimes torching entire sections of the ship. The results were devastating. During World War II, more than 36 U.S. ships were sabotaged this way, destroying over $10 million worth of military supplies. And keep in mind, $10 million back then was astronomical. The pencil bomb may not sound flashy, but in terms of actual impact, it was one of the most effective gadgets spies ever used. Number 6. Concealment weapons. Now, when you think of spies, the image in your head probably includes hidden or disguised weapons, ordinary objects hiding something deadly inside. And you'd be right. Concealment weapons became a hallmark of espionage operations throughout the 20th century. But instead of just rattling off a list, let's do something different. Let's imagine that you're the spy. It's the height of the Cold War. Your mission: take out one of the most notorious villains in Russia, a man named Sergei Sergovich Sergeysky, a black market graphics card reseller. And you've been warned. Enemy spies are everywhere, and trust is a luxury you can't afford. Scene 1. You're sitting at a bar, waiting for your target. The bartender asks, "What'll it be?" If you say just water or nothing, congrats, you've just made yourself look suspicious and unapproachable. Not exactly spy material. If you loosen up, you might actually blend in better. While you wait, you step outside for a smoke. Unfortunately, your pack is empty. A man nearby offers you a cigarette. Do you take it? If you refuse, boom, you're dead. He just used a cigarette pack gun on you. If you accept, same result. That cigarette was your last. Yes, this was a real gadget. The KGB designed cigarette packs that doubled as tiny firearms. Of course, they officially denied ever using them. But if history has taught us anything, it's that you should never take the KGB's word at face value. Scene 2, your pager goes off. Intel says your target is at a coffee shop a few blocks away. You rush over, but an old woman is inching across the street. Do you wait or help her cross? If you wait, your target slips away. If you help, you're done. The woman just pulled a cane gun on you. Yes, even canes weren't safe. These disguised firearms could hold multiple shots and were used by groups like the British SOE, the CIA, and you guessed it, the KGB. And that's just scratching the surface. There was also the lipstick gun, nicknamed the Kiss of Death, famously used by female KGB operatives. One pull of the trigger, and the target was gone. Then there was the flashlight gun, which looked like a normal torch, but could fire up to 4 rounds. This wasn't just Cold War tech either. North Korea reportedly used one as recently as 2011. So, while Hollywood makes being a spy look slick and glamorous, the reality was often dangerous, unpredictable, and, frankly, absurd. Concealment weapons weren't just gadgets. They were traps hiding in plain sight. Number 5. Chemical poisoning. Moving up the list, chemical poisons take the stage. And honestly, this has to be one of the most humiliating ways to go. Imagine being taken out, not by a bullet or a knife, but by something as mundane as a doorknob. Sounds like a twisted prank, right? Unfortunately, for spies, it was all too real. Throughout history, chemical poisons have been a favorite tool for high-profile assassinations. And yes, it's basically the ultimate form of cheating in the spy world. Some attempts have been so notorious that they even sparked international outrage. For example, North Korea didn't sign some of the chemical weapons treaties, so they continued using toxins as a weapon of choice. Russia, on the other hand, did sign treaties banning chemical weapons, but that didn't stop incidents like the 2018 poisoning of a former Russian spy in the UK. The world was understandably shocked, asking, "Wait, didn't you just agree not to do this?" But Russia's answer, well, technically, it was only those 2 agents. We didn't authorize it. Chemical poisoning isn't just deadly, it's psychologically terrifying. You never see it coming. One minute, you're going about your day, and the next, something as ordinary as a cup of tea or a handshake becomes a death sentence. For spies, that element of embarrassment and unpredictability made chemical poisons particularly feared. Number 4. The umbrella. Now, speaking of subtle yet terrifying, let's talk about the umbrella. Yes, that ordinary thing you might carry on a rainy day could be lethal in the hands of a spy. Let me set the scene. You're waiting at a bus stop, minding your own business. Suddenly, you feel a tiny sting on the back of your thigh. You turn and see a man pretending to pick up his umbrella, apologizing casually, as if nothing happened. A few moments later, he leaves, and you continue your day. Hours later, a fever hits. You shrug it off, thinking it's nothing, but it's not. Over the next few days, your condition worsens, and you eventually end up hospitalized, struggling to even breathe. This isn't a story from a spy novel. It's real. The victim? Georgy Markov, a Bulgarian writer who defected to the West and openly criticized Bulgaria's communist regime. The umbrella contained a tiny 1.5 mm pellet laced with poison, so small it looked like a mere pimple on his leg. This was enough to eventually kill him, and it left virtually no trace, making it a nearly perfect assassination method. The umbrella weapon is a chilling reminder that in espionage, everyday objects can hide lethal secrets. Number 3. The pen. Next, we have a gadget that looks completely harmless, the pen. But in 2011, South Korean intelligence intercepted a North Korean spy carrying a pen designed purely for assassination. At first glance, it seemed like an ordinary ballpoint. You might have clicked it a few times, testing it out, then set it down, thinking nothing of it. But here's the twist. If you twisted the back of the pen 3 or 4 times and then pressed the button, a tiny poison-coated needle would shoot out. It could strike accurately up to 10 meters over 30 feet away. And with an endless array of toxins available, it was a silent, invisible weapon capable of taking out targets without any alarms. The pen shows just how deadly creativity can get in the hands of intelligence agencies. Number 2. The mist gun. Now we're entering truly terrifying territory. Cyanide mist gun, mainly used by the KGB in the 1950s, was designed for efficiency and absolute stealth. Here's how it worked. Spies would wrap the gun in a newspaper to blend in, casually approach their target, and when in range, lift the paper and squeeze the trigger. A fine mist would spray directly onto the target's face. Within seconds, the person would collapse, struggling to breathe, and be dead almost instantly. The genius, or horror, of the mist gun lay in its subtlety. In the 1950s, forensics weren't advanced enough to detect cyanide poisoning easily. 2 Ukrainian men, for example, were taken out this way, and doctors at the time simply assumed they died of heart attacks. This weapon perfectly illustrates how espionage often relied on blending lethal intent into seemingly innocent moments. Number 1. The heart attack gun. And now, the most chilling of all the heart attack gun. Let's set the scene historically. It's 1972, and the Watergate scandal is unfolding. 7 burglars, linked to President Nixon's re-election campaign, break into the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate Hotel. Their goal? Steal documents and wiretap phones. Here's where it gets wild. 5 of these burglars had ties to the CIA. Nixon tried to use the CIA to obstruct the FBI investigation, sparking a cover-up that eventually collapsed public trust in the U.S. government. Investigations revealed CIA secrets that were previously only conspiracy theories, mind control experiments, infiltration of civil rights groups, spying on citizens, propaganda campaigns, and assassination plots targeting foreign leaders. But the real shocker? The heart attack gun itself. This gun didn't fire normal bullets. Instead, It launched a frozen projectile containing a shellfish toxin, one of the deadliest substances known. A dose smaller than a poppy seed could kill someone in minutes. Even more horrifying, the poison mimicked the symptoms of a natural heart attack, leaving no evidence of foul play. Despite years of development and stockpiling enough toxin to target thousands, the CIA claimed it never actually used the weapon. Honestly, that's a claim I'm inclined to believe, but the very idea of it is enough to send chills down your spine. The heart attack gun represents the terrifying intersection of science, stealth, and espionage, a weapon designed to be invisible, untraceable, and utterly lethal. From ridiculous gadgets like the Rectal Toolkit to deadly innovations like the heart attack gun, espionage has always been a blend of creativity, danger, and sheer audacity. These tools may seem like the stuff of fiction, but they were very real, and for the spies who had to carry or dodge them, the stakes were life and death. By now, you're probably realizing just how bizarre and terrifying the world of espionage really is. We've covered devices that are outright ridiculous, like the Rectal Toolkit, and tools that are frighteningly ingenious, like the heart attack gun. But what ties them all together is the same principle: secrecy, stealth, and a complete disregard for conventional thinking. Let's take a closer look at some of the recurring themes in these spy gadgets. First, there's the idea of concealment. Many of these devices were designed to hide in plain sight, turning ordinary objects into lethal weapons. From lipstick guns and flashlight pistols to pens and umbrellas, the most effective spies could carry death in their pockets without anyone ever suspecting. This wasn't about brute force. It was about subtlety, cunning, and psychological advantage. If a target never saw the weapon coming, they were already at a disadvantage. Next, there's innovation under pressure. Some of the creations we've discussed, like pencil bombs and chemical poisons, were engineered to solve specific problems: how to destroy a ship unnoticed, or how to eliminate a high-profile target without leaving a trace. The fact that these devices worked even if sometimes poorly shows the level of ingenuity intelligence agencies were capable of. In a way, it's equal part science and horror, because the results were often deadly. Another theme is the absurdity of certain gadgets. Take the Rectal Toolkit, for example, or the glove gun. These inventions were technically functional, but they highlight the extremes of spy creativity and the occasional disconnect between theory and practical use. Many of these devices were issued, trained with, and tested, but rarely deployed successfully. They represent the what-if moments in espionage history where imagination sometimes outpaced necessity. And yet, even the ridiculous ones are fascinating because they reveal the lengths to which agencies would go to prepare their operatives for every possible scenario, no matter how unlikely. Then there's psychological terror. Weapons like the cyanide mist gun, chemical poisons, and the heart attack gun weren't just about killing. They were about doing so in a way that terrified, confused, and left no obvious explanation. For the world outside, these methods blurred the line between natural death and assassination, creating fear and paranoia. Imagine knowing that someone could be taken out while standing in a line at a bus stop, or while reaching for a pen on their desk. The very ordinary world suddenly became a minefield. And let's not forget the human element. Spies had to train endlessly, learn to use these bizarre devices, and carry them on missions, often under the threat of capture or death. The weight wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Every gadget required skill, timing, and nerves of steel. Miss a step with a glove gun or mishandle a chemical poison, and your mission or your life could end in seconds. In many ways, these tools were extensions of the spy themselves, revealing not only ingenuity, but the constant tension between risk and reward. And finally, there's the undeniable storytelling power of these gadgets. Even if many were never used or failed when deployed, they've become part of the cultural imagination of espionage. Movies, books, and video games borrow heavily from these real-world creations. Think about how many spy thrillers center around hidden pens, explosive cigars, or seemingly harmless objects that turn deadly. Real espionage history is stranger and often scarier than fiction. Take a moment to picture the scenes we've explored. A spy waiting in a bar, making decisions that could end in instant death. Someone unaware that a tiny pellet in an umbrella or a hidden needle in a pen could end their life. Operatives carrying absurdly designed kits, hoping they'll never need them. Each story is a reminder that the world of espionage isn't just a game of wits. It's a high-stakes arena where creativity, fear, and danger collide. So what can we learn from these gadgets? First, intelligence work has always relied on imagination and innovation. The more inventive an agency could be, the better equipped its operatives were for unpredictable situations. Second, stealth and surprise are paramount. From the cyanide mist gun to the lipstick pistol, invisibility was a core principle. And third, even in a world of extreme secrecy and lethal technology, there's room for absurdity. The Rectal Toolkit proves that sometimes spy agencies just wanted to cover every possible scenario, no matter how ridiculous it might seem. In a broader sense, these stories also remind us about the risks and sacrifices of espionage. These gadgets didn't exist in a vacuum. They were tools in a dangerous game played across continents, often involving lives, politics, and global consequences. While Hollywood may glamorize the spy life, reality is far more complex. It's about preparation, precision, and sometimes sheer luck. Even though some of these tools were never deployed or failed in the field, they're a testament to the extremes of human ingenuity. From devices that were utterly impractical to those that were terrifyingly efficient, the history of spy gadgets is a mirror of the Cold War era itself. Tense, inventive, unpredictable, and often deadly. So, next time you pick up a pen, an umbrella, or even a simple pack of cigarettes, remember, in the world of espionage, the ordinary can hide the extraordinary and sometimes the lethal. And that's what makes these spy gadgets endlessly fascinating. They're a mix of absurdity, brilliance, and terror. They reveal the lengths intelligence agencies went to protect their secrets, take out targets, and stay one step ahead of their enemies. Even when these tools were never used or failed spectacularly, their legacy lives on in stories, films, and, of course, discussions like this. From laugh out loud, ridiculous to spine-chilling deadly, these devices show that espionage has always been about thinking outside the box. And in the process, it gives us a peek into a shadowy world where ordinary objects can hold extraordinary and sometimes deadly power.